so I guess we'll just start off by, can you please tell us your name and spell it for us?
Cindy Fitch, F-I-T-C-H.
And your official title is?
Director, Families and Health Programs for the WVU Extension Service.
All right, and so we're doing our topic about obesity and obesity-related deaths. So could you generally just give us your definition of obesity?
Well, obesity is really a medical diagnosis. In general, we go by body mass index, BMI, and BMI at 30 or above for an adult would be considered obesity. I do want to point out, though, that that is really a screening tool because you can have a lot of lean body mass and have a high BMI without having a lot of body fat. So obesity really should be defined as the body fat, but that's harder to measure.
Right. Okay, and so we're dealing with obesity-related deaths. Do you know what the leading cause of obesity-related deaths is?
Well, it's heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. And obesity makes heart disease worse. It increases your risk for heart disease. Obesity increases your risk for type 2 diabetes, which in turn increases your risk for heart disease and death. So most people who die from obesity-related disease don't die from the obesity itself. They die from a disease that is made worse by the obesity.
How have the obesity death rates changed over the last decade? Like, have they risen, fallen, and if so, like how much?
They've actually fallen. The age-adjusted death rates have fallen, and that's because we've got really good medical care. So death from heart disease has fallen, death from diabetes has fallen, so that's the good news. What has risen is the morbidity, people who are not able to live their lives like they'd like to live them because of their obesity.
And what would you say are some of the causes for that? Do you think like fast food and?
I think that it's really hard to tease out what causes it. The more I learn about nutrition, the more I appreciate the role that genetics plays in the way we react to our environment. But clearly it's not just genetics because our genes haven't changed this quickly in just one generation or two generations. So it is probably an interaction between our genetics and our environment, which fast food plays a role, or not so much fast food as food that's high in calories, low in nutrients. But also the modern conveniences that we love plays a role, like dishwashers that I wouldn't want to give up, and automobiles, and all of those things play roles as well.
You mentioned nutrients. What kind of nutrients do you think people are like missing out on the most that help?
Well, what we know from nationwide surveys is that they are most likely to miss out on iron, calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin A. Iron you get from meats, so meats are not necessarily considered a cause of obesity. You get iron, they're a good source of iron. Dairy products are a good source of calcium and vitamin D. Fruits and vegetables are a good source of vitamin A. So we just probably don't eat enough of those things.
What age range is most at risk for obesity related deaths?
Well, certainly adults, and we see obesity rates go up through middle adulthood and then go back down in late adulthood, and most likely it's because of early death, not because people get slimmer. But the age I am most concerned about is preschool. And that's because those patterns are established in the preschool age group, those patterns of eating and being physically active. And what happens in preschool affects your risk for chronic disease as an adult.
So what would you recommend, preschool, education and stuff? Do you think they should not obviously not teach the kids this kind of early,
Right,
but
it is kind
just
of early
let
to
the
teach
adults,
kids.
like their parents know. Do you think that's what they should focus on?
Yeah,
more?
I think that once obesity is established, it is incredibly difficult to treat. And maintaining a healthy lifestyle, active, eating a healthy diet really helps prevent the chronic disease. So I'm not saying we give up on treating obesity, but we focus on symptoms and focus on behaviors. But in preschools, we have an opportunity to prevent it.
Yeah.
Parents have to set an example, and they have to keep their families active and turn off the television and get out and have fun together as a family.
So what kind of trends have you been seeing that are like kind of alarming you in preschoolers?
A rising rate of obesity in preschool age children. And in preschoolers, well, in kids in general, because kids grow at different rates, we compare their body mass index to the national norms for their age. So in a growth chart, we have a BMI growth chart that we use to assess obesity in children. And sadly, they used data from the 60s and 70s to develop those growth charts, because by the 80s, kids were already showing signs of high rates of obesity.
What would you say is like more important? I know you mentioned obviously both of these lead towards obesity, but would you say the nutrition part or like being active? Like I know video games and fast food, like you said, are very popular in the United States. Which like leads more towards death or whatever?
It is probably the physical activity. And I'm a dietitian, so I really think the nutrition part is very important for a high quality of life, for being healthy, for feeling good, having good skin, and all of those things. But there's so much evidence that a physically active lifestyle prolongs life.
What's your name and your title?
My name's Marilyn Corbin. I'm the business manager too for dining services.
Can you spell your name, please?
MARILYNCORBIN.
Okay. We're doing our project about obesity. What can you tell us? That's fine. What could you tell us about some of the leading causes of obesity that you see from the dining services?
Well, I can't say that I see. We offer different varieties, so it's a choice. It's the kids' choice of what they want to eat. That's what I can see. We offer different varieties of food, so I think it's it's not their choice to be obese, but it's their choice on what they'd like to eat.
What kind of different choices do you offer? Like, is there like vegetarian stuff you offer? And if so, like, does it change daily, weekly with what choices you have?
I do a 5-week cycle on my menus. I do offer vegetarian items. I offer made-to-order items out of the window, sandwiches. We have a full salad bar, fresh fruit bar, and a demo area, which I also make made-to-order foods. And the vegetarian items, we do have pasta. We have, like I say, the salad bar. Thinking of all the things that I have. That I did a vegetarian sandwich on the demo with fresh zucchini, squash, onions, mushrooms. So we do offer some made-to-order items, vegetarian.
How does Arnold Hall differ than like the other dormitory cafes in West Virginia, like compared to Summit, Stoniker, even Borman, whatever? Does it change or is it the same, would you say?
We're different.
Okay.
We're different. We do a special once a month for the kids so they have a little fun. I try to do a Pirates party in March, so I do a seafood party. I do a Halloween party. Pretty much right now I only have maybe 4 items that's not made to order, so everything is fresh. I like that part. I do breakfast made to order, so it's fresh.
Yeah.
And so that's how we differ.
Are there any like programs or requirements that you have to serve a certain amount of food, like to West Virginia students, like health regulations wise?
We do a Healthy You program, and but it's not state regulated. It's just something the university wanted to do.
Okay.
And if you eat that through the day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's like 2,000 calories.
Okay.
And but it's not mandated by the
Okay.
state.
You got anything else?
Basically, how you said compared to Arnold Hall before you arrived, I understand that it was different. Some say it's changed for the better a lot since you've joined. Would you credit that to your obesity, like basically giving the students more choice, having fresher food? Would you say that's been the biggest change since the takeover?
The biggest change, we did add a lot of fresh food and lots of options. There was no options before. We went from feeding 150 for lunch before I got here. We feed 400 for lunch now. So, and this is my third year here. So, it's. I think the kids like the choices, you know, and being able to be waited on. You know, they're kids. My daughter likes to be waited on. I'm thinking, these 400 likes to be waited on, you know. But I like the part of the fresh food, and the staff is very proud of the food now. Where before they had a little rough time. You know?
Yeah.
But they're really proud of the product they put out.
All right. To you individually, how important is it to continue to kind of is it in the back of your head that you care about how giving the students healthy varieties? I know you've said you've changed it to where they can choose, but is that important to you individually?
Yes, that's important to me. And it's also important to me as far as a manager is to be out and with the kids. You know, I'd like for them to know who I am, and if they want something special, you know, to tell me, because nothing I do is written in stone. You know, we do have a dietitian on board. If there's a special meal, we have a gluten-free girl here now. We do special meals, you know. So we try to do the variety of items of what they need.
To expand on the dietitian, what is exactly his role, and how often does he come in? And
it's a lady. Her name's Nettie Freshour, and she helped implement the Healthy You program. She would come here once a week. If needed to be, the students, she would set up appointments with the students. If they need to see her, she's there.
All right, and basically to kind of expand on the Healthy You program, I know you mentioned a couple of times. Basically, what exactly is it, definition-wise, and how long has it been implemented?
For at least 5 years.
5 years, okay.
When we make those recipes from scratch, we use low-fat butters and fresh vegetables and things like that when we make the recipes, so that it does cut down on the fat content.
Okay.